The new shoes. In a quiet village nestled between green hills and winding rivers, lived a boy named Toma. He was 10 years old, skinny as a stick, and always barefoot. Not because he wanted to be, but because he had no shoes. Toma lived with his grandmother, Nana Besa, in a small wooden house with a leaky roof and a vegetable garden that kept them fed through most seasons. His parents had died in a storm when he was just a baby, and since then, it had been the two of them against the world. Despite their poverty, Toma was cheerful and bright. He ran fast, climbed trees like a monkey, and helped his grandmother with the chores. But every morning, as he walked the rocky path to school with his bare feet dodging stones, he longed for a pair of shoes. Not just any shoes, real ones, with thick soles, soft laces, and maybe even a stripe on the side. One morning, as Thomas sat in the classroom with the other village children, he couldn't help but stare at Michael's shoes. Mikel was the son of the village shopkeeper. He had shiny blue sneakers with white stripes that glowed in the sunlight. Whenever Mikel walked, the shoes lit up at the heel. "Cool, right?" Mikel said proudly, noticing Thomas' stare. "They flash when I run. They were sent from the city." Toma nodded, trying not to let the jealousy show in his eyes. His own feet were dirty and scratched, with a piece of cloth tied around one toe to stop a blister from getting worse. That afternoon, when Toma returned home, he found Nana Besa sewing by the window. He sat beside her and said softly, "Nana, do you think one day I'll have a pair of shoes like Michael's?" Nana looked at him with kind eyes and stopped her stitching. "One day," she said gently. "But remember, my boy, feet carry your heart. Whether bare or covered, they still walk the same path." Toma nodded, but the longing inside him didn't go away. Days passed. Then weeks. Toma's school uniform grew shorter as he grew taller. His feet grew too, and more cuts appeared along his heels. Yet he never stopped helping Nana in the garden, fetching water, and running errands for the neighbors. He saved every coin he earned in a small tin under his bed. One bright morning, something unexpected happened. A letter arrived. The village postman brought it, his bike kicking up dust as he approached. Nana Besa squinted at the envelope. It was from Uncle Joran, her younger brother who lived in the city. He was coming to visit, and bringing a gift. Toma's eyes widened. "Do you think he'll bring shoes?" Nana chuckled. "You think of nothing else these days." 3 days later, Uncle Joran arrived. He was loud and friendly, with a mustache that twitched when he laughed. After supper, he handed Toma a large box wrapped in brown paper. Toma's fingers trembled as he opened it. Inside was a brand new pair of shoes. They weren't blue or shiny. They didn't flash or glow. But they were strong, black, and solid, with thick soles and soft insides. They smelled of new leather and hope. Toma hugged the shoes tightly. "Thank you, Uncle Joran!" That night, he placed them beside his bed, too excited to sleep. The next morning, he woke up early, washed his face, and carefully slid his feet into the shoes. They fit perfectly. He walked slowly at first, afraid to scuff them. Then he ran, through the garden, around the house, and down the road. The shoes made him feel taller, stronger, and faster. At school, the other children noticed. "New shoes," one of them said. "Where did you get them?" asked another. Even Mikel looked impressed, though he didn't say much. Toma was proud, but not boastful. He smiled and said, "They're from my uncle. They fit just right." That day, he ran faster in P class, stood taller when reading out loud, and didn't feel the sharp stones underfoot on the way home. It was one of the happiest days of his life. But happiness, like the weather in the hills, can change quickly. 2 weeks later, on a rainy afternoon, Toma was walking home when he heard a voice calling out, "Help! Please!" He ran toward the sound and found Lena, a girl from the next class, standing beside a stream that had flooded from the rain. Her little brother was trapped on a large stone in the middle, crying, unable to cross back. The water was rising fast. Toma looked down at his shoes. They were dry and clean. But without hesitation, he pulled them off, tied them around his neck, and waded into the stream. The current was strong, and the water was cold, but Toma reached the boy, lifted him, and slowly walked back. His feet slipped on the rocks, but he kept going. At last, they reached the bank safely. "Thank you!" Lena cried, hugging her brother. But Toma was looking down. One of his shoes was gone. The string had come loose, and the shoe had been taken by the current, swept away downstream. For a moment, silence hung in the air. Then Toma smiled weakly. "At least we're all okay." He walked home barefoot, one shoe in hand, his feet cold and muddy. When Nana Besa opened the door, she gasped. "What happened?" Toma told her everything. She listened, her eyes shining with pride and sorrow. "You lost your shoe," she said softly. Toma nodded. Nana held his face in her hands. "But you saved a life. That is worth more than 100 shoes." The next day, Toma returned to school barefoot once more. He carried the remaining shoe in his bag, a reminder of what he'd lost, and what he'd chosen to protect. Some children laughed. Others whispered. But Mikhail walked up to him at recess and did something unexpected. He sat down, pulled off his flashing sneakers, and handed them to Toma. "You need them more than I do," he said. Toma blinked in surprise. "What?" "No. I can't." "You can't," Mikhail said firmly. "They're a bit small for me anyway." Toma hesitated, then accepted them. From that day on, Toma walked with one flashing shoe and one plain one, the one he had saved. People in the village called it odd, but others called it brave. Years later, when Toma grew up and became a schoolteacher in the same village, he kept that old shoe on his shelf. Children often asked, "Why do you keep only one shoe?" And he would smile and reply, "Because that shoe reminds me that kindness always walks farther than pride, even in bare feet."